Okay, hello again. This is the 5 Minute Tarot for the 21st of January 2018. And today I'd like to consider the idea of rules or not when it comes to reading cards. Because a lot of places you go, websites, blogs, books, you'll find that on YouTube videos, a lot of people will tell you that when it comes to reading cards, there are no rules. And the problem is that, in a way, then what happens is everything means everything. And it can be hard to know what kind of answer to give to somebody. Because you can look, for instance, at the Three of Swords, and you can say, okay, you want to get revenge. And you can sort of see why that might be true. But then you can look at the King of Cups and think, okay, you want revenge because a king doesn't like to be upset or annoyed. And then you can look at the Emperor and say, yes, you want revenge because the Emperor is stern and controlling, and maybe somebody got in his way and he wants revenge. So the problem is everything means everything, and you haven't got that much of a guide. On the other hand, I'm saying that if you look at the picture and the illustration and figure out what's going on in it, then you've got a way of understanding what the tarot is trying to tell you, or what the questioner is trying to tell themselves through cards. So instead of having the idea that there are no rules, because the problem with that idea about revenge, the Three of Swords, the King of Cups, and the Emperor, if the reader wants revenge or is annoyed, you can find that the reader sees themselves in the cards. So they've got the idea, yes, you want revenge, and they have forgotten that they themselves want revenge. Maybe somebody upset them. And it's if you just depend on your psychic impressions and on that you're right and that whatever you say is the truth, you can get trapped in your own thoughts and end up talking about yourself and not really reading what's in the cards. Now, some of what you say may connect with the questioner and they can see what you're saying, but it's a bit like sometimes people will say, yes, you were upset in the past. You know, Three of Swords reversed, you were upset in the past. The thing is, all of us have been upset at some time in the past. Right. So if the reader says you were upset in the past, you can immediately or quite easily identify some experience you had in the past where you were upset. So what the reader says might be true enough, but it's not really that significant or important, because anybody can tell you anything. And you're going to be able to come up with a time in your life when that happened, or when you thought that, or when you felt that, or when you wanted that. So we can get into trouble if there are no rules, because then everything means everything. But if you take your lead from the card itself, you're not going to go wrong, I think. And an example of this was a few days ago. A woman wanted to change jobs. And so she wanted to know about how to go about it. And she picked a card and got the Empress upright. So she wanted to know about changing jobs. And this seemed like a strong indication that things would go well, because it's a woman, she's comfortable, she's outside, she's got a cushion, the water's flowing in the background, and, you know, it looks good. And she's sociable, and she's the Empress, who's the sort of female version of the Emperor. So if she wants to have her own company and be her own boss, that looks like a good path, and it's going to work out well because it's the Empress and because it was upright. So then we looked at it, and it occurred to me, I seldom do this, but there is the idea that the number on the card can represent days or weeks or months, right? You can get some kind of time period. So when will this happen? You turn and get the Two of Batons. It's going to happen within two weeks or 2 months, or whatever time frame you want to use. So we looked at the Empress, and it occurred to me 3 months, because the Empress is 3. And 3 months. Why 3 months? Partly because I'm not in the habit of saying the Empress equals 3 months, but she wants to change a job and she wants to do it reasonably soon. So if we take the 3 in the Empress as a number, a time period, it's not going to be 3 years, because she doesn't want to have to wait 2.5 years before she changes jobs. She wants to do it now. She's been thinking about changing jobs a little bit, but not a lot. So I think that 3 weeks is too soon. If she had been organizing her life and her circumstances and her plans for a period of time and was quite well advanced in knowing what she wanted to do, who she was going to be involved with, what she was going to do, how she was going to develop things, then 3 weeks could have been the answer. If you're almost ready to start, then maybe 3 weeks. 3 days, that just didn't make sense. But because she really wants to change jobs, she's been thinking about it a bit. It seemed to me that 3 months is a decent period of time to wind up the job that she's in, at the same time to figure out what direction she wants to go in, how she's going to do it, how she's going to organize her time, and so on. And so 3 months is 90 days, and that gives her a long enough period of time, a long enough period of time to get herself together and get herself organized, but it's not rushing as it would be if you decided on 3 weeks. So I'm saying, yes, have rules, but you don't use every rule every time. So the idea that numbers can represent periods of time, but you think about the question and what's logical, what's sensible. And so 3 years is too long, too far into the future. 3 days, 3 weeks is too soon. So 3 months seems about right. And so we take the number 3 in the Empress and we expand on that idea and give the questioner a background or a time period or an idea of how long she's got, or what would be a good amount of time to spend organizing and setting things up so she can leave the job that she's in and then immediately step into a half decent kind of organized future that she has created or she's been thinking about, and it's for herself. So should you use rules? I think we need rules. Otherwise, you don't know what you're doing, or otherwise you're totally dependent on your psychic impressions. And maybe your psychic impressions are okay and correct, but they can just as easily be completely wrong. And you can maybe get the different factors and identify them, but you maybe put the story together in the wrong way and talk about what's going to happen, but it's wrong what you say. Whereas if you look at the picture and make use of the different elements and bits and pieces in the card and in the picture, you're going to be going along the right lines, I think, for answering the person's question. Okay, that was it. Thank you very much for watching. If you have comments or questions, please leave them down below. And thumbs up, as they say. Okay, so I'll see you in a couple of days. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.